Welcome back. This is Hope at Dawn. It's Monday, and also that means that we are looking at matters to do, legal matters, and we call it law logs. And this morning, as we have been telling you, we are looking at a very important topic, conversation this morning. It's all about speech and expressing yourself. How far is too far? That is what we are asking ourselves. And today, we are talking about freedom, and it's freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And to help us navigate this very important conversation, we have our friend. He's not a stranger to us. He's been here before, and excited to have him back. We have Bian Clive Shitawa to help us with this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers. My name is, as you said, Bian Clive Shitawa.
Yes.
I'm a lawyer. Very happy to be here yet again. I'm not a stranger here.
Yes.
To carry on with this topic, freedom of expression and speech. Yeah. Thank you.
And this is a statement we used to hear when we were in school.
Yeah.
Those long, long time ago. I would say when we first of all start calculating my years here. But the freedom of speech and expression, what does it even mean? Just get down to just making us understand what this freedom of speech and expression in itself, what does it mean according to the Constitution?
Freedom of speech. Actually, freedom of speech falls under expression. So perhaps it is okay to define
Yes.
Freedom of expression.
Yes.
Freedom of expression means, acquiring ideas, seeking being able to get ideas and then impart them freely, and it must be through a medium. And when it gets to a medium, that's where now we ask, what is a medium?
Yes.
A medium can be where we are now. It could be through artistic work. It could be through sculpture. It could be through music, and so on. There's so many ways of, getting a medium through which you can express yourself. It could even be through a placard in the streets. That's a medium. So when you come back to the Constitution, you will discover under Article 33 in the Bill of Rights that the freedom of expression is defined as it involves the seeking, being able to acquire, and then pass on information freely. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
And because now at least we have a foundation in terms of the definition of the two, what would you tell us in terms of some of the misconceptions that we have in Kenya when it comes to freedom of speech and freedom of expression? Some of as a lawyer,
The misconceptions are wide, but the most, the biggest one, I think, the one that defeats the public at large, is that people think that when you have the freedom of expression, you're not limited. And therefore, they believe that you can express yourself freely to the extent that you're demeaning others or you're hurting the reputations of others. That is wrong. And that's a misconception.
Okay.
And this is very common when you come to social media. And that is where you can see people with even pseudo accounts for purposes of expressing themselves, which is a right.
Yeah.
But again, to which limit?
Yeah.
That is where the Constitution comes in, and creates a room where it says that it should not be to the extent, if you look at Article 33, sub-Article 3, it should not be to the extent that it goes to the hurting of others' reputations much as you enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe we can go deeper in that perspective to understand what are the rights and the limitations of the freedom of expression.
When it comes to freedom of expression, the right involves, for example, the right to academic research.
Okay.
It could be scientific research. Also, the right to just express yourself through a medium. And that right is not limited to that extent.
Yeah.
Where does limitation come in? Limitation starts coming in where my rights start.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are various rights that have been prescribed in the Constitution. That's under Article 33, sub-Article 1. But they only go to that extent. The limitation comes in sub-Article 2. which says that it should not go to, propaganda for war. So when it gets to propaganda for war, that is very serious,
Yeah.
and people sometimes don't understand.
Yeah,
It can
yeah.
be very serious, and it can border treason. Treason is a capital offense in this
Wow.
country. Yeah. It should not go to the extent that it is hate speech. Hate speech is a is a very interesting thing to
Is.
discuss in this country.
Yeah.
Because the moment you start discussing hate speech, I think even the institutions that you have created have not been able to, define how far is hate
Yes.
speech.
Yeah.
Because it now, my opinion would have been that perhaps we should have left this to the courts to define and draw a line between what is hate speech and what is not hate speech.
Yeah.
Because the institutions we have created, I
Yeah.
think, are only used for sanitizing the perpetrators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking of hate speech, because the argument, especially as you mentioned, when it comes now to the social media and
Yes.
all,
Yes.
how then, as you said, these organizations that are there to prevent the same,
Yeah.
but then how again are we individually not to be found culpable when it comes to propagating hate speech on our social media in the guise of freedom of expression and speech?
Okay, when it comes to social media, it is not just actually they are supposed to be a cocktail of rights. For example, you people in the media have a privilege. The privilege is to inform.
Yes.
And if you get to parliament, for example, you'd find that what you say in parliament is also privileged, much as there are standing orders to guide the discussions in parliament.
Yes.
You cannot just walk to parliament and arrest someone because they said something while it
Yeah.
is privilege.
Yeah.
What happens sometimes within the police force and the defense forces is that some of it is privileged. It's not something that will come out here. And even in the courts,
Yes.
somebody may speak there something that may not really sound like a freedom of expression. Except for if they're lying, that's and they're on oath, that's when perhaps they may face a charge on perjury. But besides that, we that use social media are supposed to understand, first of all, before you even use that social media, before you create an account, there is something that has been created for you, the terms and conditions that you
Yes.
must understand. Those terms and conditions actually tend to stop you from using information or creating information that is a lie, that it is a propaganda, sometimes propagating hate, profiling certain people or ethnicities or even races.
Yeah.
And some of these platforms have also allowed for reporting. Now, the reason for reporting is to enable the platform owners to help reduce what injures. And what people should know is that when you cross those bounds, those boundaries, you are likely to face serious consequences
Yeah.
In law.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in Kenya, I think besides the freedoms that we have as created under the Constitution, limitations may come all the way into statutes. And statutes, for example, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act,
Yeah.
tends to bring in a lot of protection of the victims. And I think this is one statute that had a lot of contention during its creation. Much as it was a period when we were experiencing a lot of terrorism and people thought that freedom of expression perhaps all the way into the churches and the mosque
Yeah.
and what it was imparting through that guise of freedom of expression, people were imparting sensitive, can I call it, information to children,
Yeah.
hardening them towards a given agenda. That will also lead to the Terrorism Act and so on, and that has been a creation across the world,
Yeah.
UK, US, all the way to us. So what I think is that people must be careful. Do not even hide behind a pseudonym and think that you
You'll
are
get
now
away
very
with it,
clever.
yeah.
No, 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 no. If they wanted to get you, and in this country, I know, if they want to get you, they'll get you.
Yeah.
It's only that perhaps they don't, and that's why I blame the institutions for not effecting it.
Yeah.
If they wanted to get you, they'll get you because they've gotten people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And what are some of the consequences that, you know, are associated with the violating this freedom?
Now, the consequences are dire. The ones I've seen is that, let's start from the social media platforms.
Yeah.
We've seen people cry that their accounts have been brought down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a consequence. And sometimes when you have a large following and you're depending on that for,
Yeah.
you know, an income, you find that the consequence, you'd find someone crying because the account is
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
And so that's a consequence. You could also be, if somebody came to court, there could be an order in court to stop you from that. Somebody could also sue you for defamation if you're defaming them through what you think is a freedom of expression. Do not defame another person. And that's why you see that these common bloggers. And sometimes you'll see they put out information that you wouldn't dare do.
Yeah.
But if you have the background information and you know that what you're saying is true,
You have the facts.
yourself.
Yes.
I've seen a senior counsel say very, you know, I would say nasty things
Yeah.
about some judicial officers in
Yes.
this country.
Yes.
And you haven't seen things come out. You
Yeah.
haven't seen someone go to court. I cannot explain why, but perhaps he knows what he's doing or what background
Yeah.
information
Yeah.
he has.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're in such a situation, you're better off quiet than, you know, pressing for.
Yeah.
Tell me where you got that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm getting you right, I can post and I can express my opinions or facts about a certain person or even institution
Yeah.
Mm.
on my socials or wherever, so long as I have the backing of facts.
That's the freedom of expression, actually.
Yeah.
That is the meaning of the freedom
Yeah.
of expression. Your right to acquire, seek, acquire, and impart information.
Yes.
To have opinions. You have that right. The only thing that Article 33, sub-Article 3 does
Yes.
is that it means that you shouldn't injure the reputation of others. And how do you do that?
Yes.
When you're lying.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you have, this is true.
Yes.
And you have seen sometimes when it is true, people even fear coming out to say,
Yeah.
where did you get this? That's a lie. Some people just, you know, sometimes and I would advise anyone.
Free legal advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all sinners out here.
Yes.
Yeah, we have been born of a sinful nature. Sometimes it gets up with us. When you're in such a situation, it's better, you're better off remaining silent. Let it, you know, fizzle out than
Yeah.
Engage.
engage.
Yeah.
If you engage,
Yeah.
you know what to invite.
Yeah.
And I think I feel like now shifting to this other side of the one who maybe their name is being tarnished, or maybe there's information that has come out that is false, that is not true. And I think even the fact that we are living in an era where citizen journalism has become very huge, people are just sharing news, whatever they get, they want to be the first to break a particular kind of news. So you, as the one who maybe your name has been defamed or maybe information has been released that is not true, what steps can you take to make sure that, you know, justice is served, or rather the person who is profaning your name is followed up with?
Perhaps let me start by explaining why I said media has a bit of privileges. Now, when I say media, I did not say everyone.
Yes.
There is what we call the mainstream media.
Okay.
For you to call yourself a media, you ought to be registered and known. So you don't go to the village baraza and then call yourself media because you have been acquiring information in every funeral and now you want to be the one, you know, exploding with it everywhere. That is wrong. You are not a media.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are not privileged. Let's start by understanding
Okay.
that. So the moment you do that, and perhaps you're defaming someone, that person has a right to walk to court and seek justice. The other way to get that is perhaps, you know, previously and in other jurisdictions, we've seen that defamation can be a criminal offense. I think the courts in our jurisdiction have walked away from that and have left defamation to only civil matters, to become a civil matter as opposed to a criminal thing. So a person can sue you for defamation. A person can, if you have acquired information that perhaps you are not supposed to be, you know, having, sometimes, and you're not privileged, it is not fair to just, you know, get out there and, you know, splash.
Yeah.
The idea is you must have some protection.
Yeah.
For example, if I say, this is not true, what is your basis of that, or on that? How are you going to defend yourself? So if I say that is not true and you do not have a way of dealing that, and I'll remind people in this country, for example, a very sensitive issue back in the 90s, the death of the late Dr. Robert Ouko.
Yeah.
And people published, you know, books, and we saw what happened, that people were taken to court because of defamation. We do not know, because there was never a conclusion
Yeah.
on what actually brought to, what caused the death of Robert Ouko. Of course, it was an assassination.
Yeah.
Who? We do not.
Yeah, yes.
But people, you know, started having ideas and publishing and whatever. And you can see that there was a lot of defamation cases through that period. And it went, you know, the victims really benefited out of that.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful, because the most common thing around that is defamation.
Yeah.
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 Right.
You mentioned the computer misuse.
Yes, and cybercrime.
Yeah, and I remember even when the same was being enacted, there was a lot of hue and cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were those who were claiming that the government was bringing that law in a bid to gag people from calling people in high offices into account. How then do you navigate so that you share with the public information that now can be classified, maybe it's classified, but still of national importance?
Now, when you look at, there's an office in this country called the Office of the Ombudsman,
Yes.
which tends to work to protect witnesses.
Yeah.
Whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are very important persons, and they're protected by law. So if you're whistleblowing, the whole question is usually, where do you get your information?
Yeah.
If it is the truth. And I think what people have been doing is to go through other people, to go through certain bloggers, or to go through certain politicians,
Yes.
who, if you, whom in this country it seems you can't arrest. I said it seems. You know?
Yeah. They can get away, seems they can get away with it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So people would go behind, a whistleblower would go with that information behind these people, all because they are protecting themselves. So that's the way I've seen that people are navigating to still bring out this information, so that they do not suffer the consequences of a rogue, can I say, public officer or state officer. The reason we have this problem is because sometimes the information they're bringing out is with these people.
Right.
So it's difficult to acquire that information, much as you know this is true.
Yes.
For example, if somebody said, somebody revealed information about the police, and that information is is with the police, and who are supposed to do the investigations? The police. So you find that it's a question of, I would say, a sheep expecting fair, judicial process. Not even judicial, but investigative process from, if I would say, a hyena, perhaps. It's a difficult scenario. So people go behind people whom they see in society or perceived to be, these ones are untouchable. So this one would let out information and no one is going to touch them. And why that happens is because, and I think politicians have let this country down. Why have they done that? Because there are these institutions that they create that I think are only meant to, we always say, ni mweupe kama pamba. Yeah, you go through the system and then out there, later you are mweupe kama pamba.
Yeah.
So I think they created them for a reason.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, I think we would have left these to the investigative bodies and the judiciary, as it were.
Yeah.
Because these institutions, and I would mention out the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, has not been able to perfectly do what they're required to do.
Yeah.
Because some of those appointees in that commission are all political appointees. Some of them actually have run for elective positions and failed, and they were pushed to this side. So when I come there, what you're supposed to do is, actually you're supposed to sanitize me so that nikuwe mweupe kama pamba.
Oh, wow. And I see here it is 32 minutes past 8, the appropriate time for us to have our break. We are having Bian. I just think of Bian.
You are safe.
So that usimuite Brian. So it's Bian Clive Shitawa with such great insights on the freedom of speech and expression. You can continue to send in your questions. Remember, we are live on YouTube as well. So tutachukua mapumziko kidogo, but we'll be back to continue with this conversation.
Welcome to the world of Hope Media, a media unit of Christ is the Answer Ministries that is committed to spreading the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ through the transformative power of media. Hope Media is dedicated to utilizing various forms of media to spread the message of hope, love, and redemption to all people around the world. Hope Media consists of various units that work together to achieve this goal. These units include Hope FM. Hope FM is your #1 Christian radio station offering you discussions on current day-to-day issues, inspiring music, life-changing sermons, and news updates, broadcasting 80% in English and 20% in Swahili, with listenership of over 12 million every month. Hope TV. Hope TV programming is designed to inspire, educate, and challenge the viewer with wholesome content to reach various demographic groups, children, youth, and adults, both male and female, with viewership of over 24 million every month. Hope Recording Studios. Hope Recording Studios is a state-of-the-art recording facility that offers high-quality recording, mixing, and mastering services. It is designed to meet the needs of musicians, artists, and other creative professionals who require top-notch recording facilities. Hope Creative. At Hope Creatives, we believe that inspiring graphic design work doesn't just happen. It takes the right people with wild, out-of-the-box ideas committed to the same ideals, working together to make it happen. We listen, we learn, we brand. Hope Digital. Hope Digital is a creative digital unit within Hope Media. We are driven by a passion to creatively express ourselves while influencing you with the same creative energy in online spaces and beyond. At Hope Media, we believe that media can be a powerful tool for spreading the message of hope as well as grow your business through advertisements, and we do this with excellence. For more information regarding our services, please visit www.hopemediakenya.org or call us on 0709 861 180. Hope Media. We keep hope alive.
Panda tukupandishe on Go Entertainment this new year on GoTV bila kulipia extra. Kama uko on GoTV Lite, lipia GoTV Value. Utapata kufurahia GoTV Plus. Tayari on GoTV Value, then lipia GoTV Plus uenjoy GoTV Max. Kama wewe ni wa GoTV Plus, lipia GoTV Max ujinice na shows noma kabisa on GoTV Super. Furahia the best sports, international shows na local shows una like free. Download GoTV Stream. GoTV. Love it.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live. Join John Carson every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's Word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Carson every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome back. This is Hope at Dawn. It's Lologs right here on Hope TV. And we are back, and today we are looking at freedom of expression and freedom of speech in Kenya. And we are having Bian Clive Shitawa helping us unpack this very important conversation and picking it up from where we left it. Bian, when we talk of hate speech in Kenya, and especially run up to an election, if you come to this country, the kinds and the levels of hate speech are on another level. But if you ask me, I've never really seen any tangible conclusion to a hate speech case in Kenya. And that's why maybe it's a cycle. After every 5 years, you will have people being arraigned in court, paraded in court, but really nothing substantial at the end of it all. So how then do we help in the fight against hate speech so that even us as commoners, we see that indeed there are dire consequences to whatever we post or we say?
Okay, when you mention hate created, if they meant good for this country, this was the time to go out there and let us understand the essence of, the freedom of expression. Much as it exists, it is limited.
Yeah.
Do not injure another person. The other danger is that when it leads to things like, it could actually lead things like, hate speech.
Yeah.
And the danger about hate speech is that words spoken or even printed last long.
True.
They really last long. And that could be passed over to other generations. And that is a danger, because as we get into the 21st century, into the depth of the 21st century, we need a situation whereby the things that our uncles, our great grandparents fought over, banditry, those things should be, cut rustling.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you must get,
Yeah.
cattle from that side to be a man. No, I think this is the time when perhaps these, things like the National Cohesion and Integration Commission should be going out. I don't know why we create jobs for offices. Some of these commissions ought to be down there on the ground to,
Yeah.
let people understand the essence of that.
Yeah, yeah. As we bring our conversation to a close, someone is watching us this morning,
Yes.
and they want to continue expressing and themselves, enjoying that freedom of speech, freedom of expression. What would be your advice to them so that they enjoy the same, but within the confines of the law?
Sometimes before you say a word, test it on yourself. How would I feel
Yeah.
if the same was said to me? Sometimes before you write something, check out
Yeah.
how is this going to impact on another person, so that when you're expressing yourself, and perhaps let me just off the cuff,
Yes.
football fans.
We are many.
Yeah. I don't know if you're Arsenal fan.
No.
Because they have been trolled since yesterday.
We have buried.
He's the troller. You're the one who's telling them they're down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, trolling for. By the way, things like that, trolling football and do not bother on hate speech, or So
Least
it
I'm
shouldn't.
safe.
Yeah. However,
Yes.
it comes with a rider.
Yes.
So that you also understand that in trolling, do not bring in insults that may cause, the upheavals for,
Yeah.
it looks like you're inciting to violence, or,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ndovu.
There are limits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ndovu
Ndovu
imeanguka
imeteleza. Yeah.
So, essentially, to help people understand, when you're using social media, you can hide behind the pseudonym,
Yes.
because it will only take longer for you to be found. But just remember that whenever you're on social media, you leave a footprint. Yeah. And sometimes I think that footprint is indelible. It cannot be done away
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you leave that footprint, we can track you. Oh, why am I saying that? You can be tracked. That's the thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be tracked.
Yeah.
You can be traced. You can always be found.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
not always hard. So when you're using social media, use it responsibly. Test the words you use.
Yeah.
Check out the things that you put out. Unfortunately, yesterday after the game, I saw some, graphic images of an Arsenal fan, somebody an Arsenal fan, and somehow this person had committed suicide. That's what now the abuse of expression that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Much as you think that you're informing, you are also infringing on the rights of others.
Yeah. Yeah.
What we mean when it comes to freedom of expression is that we spoke about reputation. So what that means is that your right stops where mine starts.
Okay. Okay.
The right of the family of the person that was involved in that also, deserves some respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the way you inform, and I think Kenyans, in Africa, I think Kenya is doing well, much as we still have those problems.
Yeah.
It is not a place where you will just wake up and peep up, bringing images and putting them all over. I saw that again with my Mayu issues through the flooding.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
people ought to know the things you put on social media. You may think that you're doing you're doing us a service by informing us, but you may be abusing that freedom of expression. You're supposed to really check on what you put on social media so that you're not also hurting the reputation and the rights of others.
Yeah.
That is what everyone ought to know as you use it. Use it responsibly.
Yeah.
Do not insult, do not incite to violence, do not provoke for war, do not check out on graphic images. Be more careful with children.
Yeah.
Because they're extremely protected.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have about 8 minutes or so to finishing up. And I think I would love for us to also look at the positive side because we have interviewed a number of guests and even expressing that in other countries, you can't say anything about the president. You dare say anything even now, even after there's been a lot of advancement, civilization and all that, still there are countries that are suffering from lack of this freedom of expression. But what would you say is the beauty of this freedom of expression, even for a country and its citizens?
When it comes to Kenya, I always keep bragging we have a beautiful country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful constitution. You people don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
That the people who suffered, some lost their lives within
Yeah.
the 90s to get us where we are. And thanks for the late President Kibaki that he allowed for the achievement of this constitution. We are far from some of the most developed, some superpowers in this country, especially when you look at, not really to mention names, but Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Even in Europe today, as far as US today, we know there are demonstrations happening
Yes.
across the universities against the war that is happening, against and for the war that is happening in Israel, and between Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
So you can see the way that expression is being interfered with. So usually when we look down upon us as Africans and think we are backwards, we are civilization people.
Yeah.
We are great civilization. We may not be to the standards there, but the beauty is that we have a document they don't have. And this document has come up with the rights they would wish to have.
Yeah.
Today, and you would hear the president speak in this country. He speaks, and immediately after that, the minorities, we don't have opposition in this country.
Yeah.
we are not supposed to have opposition
Yes.
constitutionally.
Yeah.
So the minorities
Yes.
will call up a press briefing and tell the president off. That is freedom of expression.
Yeah.
People, this thing did not exist in the 90s.
Yeah.
It did not exist. Perhaps you need to sit with the people who would tell you that sometimes when they were in the lecture halls, there would be, then they used to call them special branch, equal of that, in those lecture halls.
Yeah.
So that a lecturer who is perceived not to, would not freely express, and remember we said freedom of expression includes academic freedom. But somebody would come into that hall so that you're not freely expressing yourself, sitting in there as a student.
Yeah.
And when you're done, you accompany them to wherever they will take you,
Yeah.
then some building here in the city. Perhaps that has been a progress for us. This freedom is not enjoyed elsewhere.
Yeah.
Just within East Africa.
Wow.
We must tell this truth.
Yeah.
That even holding sometimes a campaign rally in some of the countries in East Africa is difficult.
Or even walking to work.
Yeah.
So one politician who was trying to walk to work.
Yes.
Wow.
Yet we have seen here, we have been allowed ourselves, the freedom of expression.
Yeah.
We call it press briefing. We go on social media. We say everything. We rant. We say everything. And sometimes that narrative helps change the perception of government towards things.
Yeah.
It is a pressure zone that helps this country. that freedom of expression. Because where we have sometimes a parliament that cannot really be effective, then we turn to the people, because again the power belongs to the people.
Yeah.
And how would people express themselves? Usually it's not about, and I have nothing against mandamano, because again that's constitutional.
Yeah.
Usually it's not always about mandamano, but that expression, to including now that we are having the 2024 finance bill.
Yeah.
You can see they are calling for memoranda. Sometimes that memoranda, you don't have to appear there in person.
Yeah.
You could deliver it through a medium. And that is a freedom that does not exist elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, does not exist everywhere. That's the right word.
Yeah.
Does not exist everywhere. In some other areas, and to be honest, Asia is has bigger problems when it comes to freedom of expression than Africa. I would say that. We tend to show Africa as the dark continent in everything, much as actually darkness is supposed to be, because when you fly over us at night, we are mostly dark.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be dark because we are dark in everything.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong about being dark. Now, the problem is that even the people, we need to showcase Africa as a continent that is moving in the right direction, and especially so when you look at Kenya, are not doing that. We tend to say so much negativity about ourselves that then that becomes the perception of the West. But we have done well with freedom of expression. We are enjoying rights that some of them don't have.
Yeah.
If you look at how things have been happening in France when, was it called the yellow whatever?
Yeah.
The yellow vest or something. The way the police were dealing with that issue.
Yeah.
You have seen what has been happening in USA. There's a problem.
Yeah.
And when you come to us here, we are doing better because we have now realized better ways of expressing ourselves to the government, that be to the president, and it is good because it helps deliver our message.
Yeah.
And I was very glad when the president the other day during the holiday, the public holiday, he comes out and says, whatever you call me is a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have rebaptized him.
Yes. So that means that the freedom of expression
Yeah.
is doing its work.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Wow. Thank you, Bian Clive Shitawa. And that was important so that we get to know the limits and how far we can go in as far as the freedom of speech, freedom of expression is concerned. So thank you so very much. I think we are now wiser. Yeah, and we will know what to do and what not to do, what to post,
Yes.
words that we will be using moving forward, so that we don't find ourselves on the wrong side of the law. Yeah, where we can get to, maybe someone would want to engage with you.
I work with Agimba and Associates Advocates along Riara Road off Ngong Road. Our email is info@agimba-advocates, info@agimba-advocates.co.ke. My personal contact,
Yeah.
for data protection.
Yeah, data protection. We will have that conversation very soon.
you, thank
yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you so much. Even for always finding time when we invite you, we
Yeah.
don't take it for granted.
It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you so very much.
Karibu sana.
Have a blessed day.
Thank
Yep, and that is all we had time for this morning. Thank you so very much. I know you are now wise, and you can share this with your groups, whichever group you are involved in, also on WhatsApp, whichever WhatsApp platform you are found, group you are found in. Make sure you are sharing this so that whatever they are posting, they need to know that there are limitations to what they can say, what they can also post. From me, George Gishuru, it's wishing you a blessed and a fruitful day and week ahead. Kwaheri for now.
All right, beautiful. This was a very wholesome conversation, full of information, and even a pointer for us to appreciate the civilization, the advancement, and the freedom that we have. But most importantly, let us not misuse this freedom
Yeah.
because it has been given to us and not many places even get to enjoy it. So this has been Low Logs, and of course, an amazing conversation on the freedom of expression and speech. Bian Clive Shitawa has been leading us through it. This is how we do it each and every single Monday. So we wish you an amazing, amazing day. See you tomorrow on One Day at a Time. That is what will be happening tomorrow, being a Tuesday. My name is Beatrice Watare. Do have yourself a good day.